Greetings to y'all, what's up? My name is Sharpclaw, and today I want to talk about a perk that I think is very underused and probably most likely very underrated, Eruption. Before anything, I really want to thank my friend Yoshi. He's the one that recommended I do this, so if anything, please be thanking him. I'll leave a link down in the description for his Twitch and his YouTube. But without further ado, let's get to it. Eruption. Let's start off with the basic. What is Eruption? What does it do? Basically, the description starts in after kicking a generator, its aura is highlighted in yellow. When a survivor is put into the dying state, this will be affected. The generator explodes, regressing 6% and causing their aura to disappear, thus being the generator no longer stays yellow. Any survivor repairing a generator when it explodes will scream and suffer incapacitated status effect for, if in level 3, 16 seconds. Now, if you don't know what incapacitated does, it's basically, it was a status effect introduced when the twins came out, and it makes it so they cannot do gens or they cannot heal. They can do some other stuff like unhooking, but for the most part, the more essential things, aka healing or doing gens, they won't be able to do for 16 seconds. So this is a nice effect, right? That's, to put it in simple, it activates when you kick a gen, so you need to set it up, and then it goes off the moment you put any survivor into a dying state. And this meaning by any means, whatever you do, if it's an M2 or M1, whatever you do, however that survivor goes into the dying state, you'll get its reward. Now, some people really compare this perk a lot with Surge, aka /Jolt. I think that both of these perks actually fit into different categories. I really don't. I understand the similarities, but please do not compare these two. I think Surge on some killers is a much better option than Eruption is, but on as some killers might benefit from Eruption more than Surge, aka the M2 killers. So I understand the similarities. To say which one is better, I really like to call it both a tie. I think that if you use Eruption to its fullest potential, it can be just as good as Surge. And of course, Surge is probably, one of the better perks for certain killers. But to each its own. Please do not confuse the two. They each go into different categories. Now, how do you want to use Eruption is what is going to be the main course here on this video. So basically, I like to see Eruption in a plan A, where it's an addition. One of the perks that mostly you'll see be synergized with Eruption is Pop Goes the Weasel, as you'll take 25% off a gen with Pop, and then once you down someone, you'll take an extra 6%. And even if someone got back on that gen to try and finish it out, even though you applied Pop on that gen, Eruption backs you up, right? So it just does a additional regression for you, and it really goes good in that combo. That's probably its best synergy. Or Eruption can be also used as a plan B. If you think survivors are really playing stealthy and sometimes you just need something as in terms of tracking, you can spend some of your time kicking a gen to trap that gen with Eruption, and then once you finally found someone and you get it down, you might use it for its tracking abilities, aka maybe spot someone on that gen, or just take some regression off a gen. Sometimes you'll want to spend your time popping another gen, and you can use Eruption to pop, I guess, another gen that you couldn't use Pop on. So it can definitely be used as a plan B, so a very, very small, tiny pop, but those are the two methods you want to be using Eruption. Do note that Eruption only goes on a gen when you're kicking. So if you have something like oppression and you use oppression on all the other gens, those gens do not get eruption. Or even if you have something like surge itself, it does not go eruption. So please keep that in mind. Eruption is only added onto a gen when you are kicking it. Now, some people might wonder that if the cooldown is a problem, which I forgot to mention, Eruption has a cooldown of 30 seconds. But really, the cooldown is nothing. 30 seconds goes by super fast. And you basically want to think of Eruption as a bank. You have to put in time setting it up, aka the time you put kicking that gen. So you invest your money in the bank. Basically, you deposited money, and in this case it's depositing time, and Eruption gives you back that time the moment you down someone. So you can withdraw your time that you deposited the moment that you down someone. So if there was someone on the gen, you basically buy 16 seconds of one survivor will not be doing a gen. And 16 seconds isn't all a lot, but at least it gives you some time to breathe and plan out something out. So basically, I want to think as Eruption as something that you spend your time on setting it up, and then you later on are rewarded. So basically, you want to follow that analogy that Eruption is kind of like a bank, right? Now, something that Eruption is really good on is securing this kind of hold on a 3 gen. Eruption can basically carry certain matches where basically once you get to the final 3 gens, even if it's not a 3 gen, Eruption can kind of still hold that game a little bit longer. So I really think it shines the most as there are less gens to defend. The moment you get to this certain time period, it's very hard for the survivors to really, counter it. They could always let go as someone's going down if they're in comms. If they're not in comms, it's much more harder to kind of predict. It's not the same as a Scourge Hook, Pain Resonance, as on that perk, you can actually see the last few seconds the person is getting hooked so that the survivor can let go of the gen and avoid the screen. However, Eruption, you cannot tell when someone's about to go down. So there's no real way to kind of avoid or walk through it. And even good survivors might not know when they're going down. Maybe if they're in the open, like they'll say for sure, okay, I'm going down here. But that's all really unpredictable. Unless, they're very, very, very high comp teams. But I rarely think that you'll have someone playing to that degree, and even then, it's still worth getting that 6% off the gen. So even though it's not that much, it's still something. So Eruption really does hold the 3 gen. I can show you a match here while I was playing demo. Demo is really good for holding the last 3 gens, as he can just put down 2 portals on each gen. And that's how you basically secure 3 gen as demo. I'd also like to give some clarification on this match, as during this, in the start of the match, these people were really rushing gens. They were not hesitating. They didn't do any side objective. Their only worry was doing gens, and they knocked out those first few gens insanely fast. I did try to hold up as much as possible, but as they were really rushing them gens, I was still getting hooks. So when they finally managed to only have the 3 last gens, this is where my build hit them hard. This is where Eruption shined, not the most, but it really did shine in with my other perks. They all synergized in one big harmony. And it goes to show that even those games where you might have those survivors kicking your butt at the start of the game, it doesn't mean it's a direct loss. Everything is possible until the end of the game. So you can churn the tables. It's definitely possible, and even with some weakish perks such as Eruption, they can be used, with all in good hands. So this is just, it goes to show that there is proof that you don't need stuff that you think that is the best helper for the end game. Let's say an example being Noed. Eruption here, it did carry me. It really held them off from completing the last gens, and every time they tried to rush the gen, the incapacitated status effect allowed me time to go and hook someone and restart the whole chain over again, applying pop, and even pain resonance also kept helping me. So all these regressions did help, and Eruption with its status effect, incapacitated, really also did help. So even then, I was not even playing to my fullest. I was a little bit rusty on demo. The build, my obsession was really good. They always kept juking me. At some point I had to M1 them. So this goes to show that like Eruption, even though it's not one of the strongest perks, it definitely can reward you in a nice manner for it to be at least a useful perk. So yeah, I just wanted to let you all know of how this match really went, and yeah, in the end they couldn't succeed, and Eruption did its job, as long as it synergized with the killer that I was using. So, but definitely anyone, any other killer could have also done this. Demo just happened to do it a little bit better. I feel like he's great in securing the 3 gen no matter what. So yeah, right? They don't have to be close, they can be very far away, but this is how you secure a 3 gen as Demo. I think Demo is probably very good on holding 3 gens. I've done it multiple times, and maybe I'll make even a video on it on how to secure a 3 gen as Demo. But for the most part, once you've got things set up at the point that there are only 3 gens, Eruption really will carry. In this game, Eruption basically fought through the full way, and it helped me win the game. Now, I want to go through a few micro tips here. The first micro tip that I want to go through, and I don't really see people really trying to learn and use more Eruption. So this is a kind of cute thing that I don't think people have thought of, which is timing the kick. Since Eruption, as mentioned before, it has a cooldown, but the cooldown is very short, 30 seconds. You can kind of time your kick to where you can already start the kick animation while Eruption is still on cooldown. If you manage to do the kick as Eruption comes back, you'll basically spend 0 time and have kicked at the gen, and Eruption came back and it's already applied on the gen. That way you basically have wasted no time whatsoever. There's 2 scenarios to this. Basically a third one if you can manage to get the sweet spot. One scenario is you kick the gen too early and you don't apply Eruption. This is the kind of scenario you really want to avoid, because sometimes you might have you could have gotten value from Eruption, but you didn't because you kicked the gen too early. So do beware, in the future you want to avoid this. Even if it means spending a little bit more time, just do scenario B, where even if you don't time the kick correctly and like Eruption already came back, or it was already there, the cooldown was already done, kick the gen. Just kick it even if it's late. You don't need to time it. You want to try and get the sweet spot, but this will take time. It's a bit of a muscle memory, and you need to kind of find the perfect like threshold of when the cooldown is about to be over with. This will take time. It will take practice, and as you go on, you will sort of kind of get there. But Sharp, what if the cooldown's too long and I'm there at the gen really early, I hooked someone right next to it? Well, in that case, yeah, if you have pop, okay, kick the gen. However, if you're really not in a hurry, wait for the eruption. Do something. Break a pallet. Use your power. Put down like a portal if you're playing demo. Look around the area. Just do something. Wait for the cooldown because it isn't long, and then kick the gen. Even if you kick it a little bit late because you were breaking a pallet and you took a little bit longer, it's better to have eruption applied on that gen because you might get value from it later on. Then you go out in a chase, you down someone, and then you never applied eruption on the gen. So I think it's ultimately better, and like I said, at max you're wasting a little bit of couple of seconds, but it's not too much. So timing the kick is something very unique, and I really would find it practical if people started practicing this more. Another thing that I want to let you know as a micro tip is that sometimes there is a sound bug. Now you could say, oh well, there's just Calm Spirit, right? However, there's basically times where people aren't running Calm Spirit, and yet the little snapshot of their character will appear. This has already happened a lot of times, but you don't really need to worry about this. The survivor still gets the incapacitated status effect, so you really don't need to worry about this. They're still incapacitated. You don't really need to care if they didn't make the noise. Sure, you won't know who it was because you didn't hear the scream of their voice, but for the most part, the gen popping and the effect is still applied. So don't worry about the sound bug too much. You did nothing wrong. It's just DBD. And yeah. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what killer is this perk best on? Now, virtually every killer definitely can use this perk. This perk is universal for any killer to use. That's being the difference between it has from Surge. Since M2 killers are definitely free to use this perk. However, I do feel it shines in a couple. The perks, the killers that I think this perk shines the most are Nemesis, because it comes from him. It helps him basically with having more control over his zombies. The moment you apply Eruption on the gen and you down someone, Eruption goes off. It basically calls the zombies there, so that they can basically patrol the gen and they know where to look. And the perk itself comes from Nemesis, so I think it's great on him. Another killer that I saw make really good use of Eruption is Pyramid Head, for the fact that Pyramid Head sometimes will have to choose whether to hook someone and get pop or cage someone. And if he cages someone, he doesn't have pop, so he can use Eruption as a kind of a mini pop to sort of make up for it. Although of course the better choice, could just be from Surge, but then again, he has an M2, which Eruption can definitely be used in that scenario. So I did see a very good Pyramid Head make good use of this perk, so I do believe on Pyramid Head it can make you can definitely make good use of it. On other killers that can patrol gens quickly, like Hag can make good use of it, Freddy can make good use of it, and I use it on Demo, which, as you saw, Demo can definitely make good use of it. He can patrol gens quickly with his portals. And Demo also has an M2, so definitely Demo can also make very good use of this. Those are the killers I feel particularly have a little bit more edge on using Eruption. But for the most part, any killer in the roster so far can use Eruption. So feel free to choose it on anyone. And now, probably the most important tip is who do you feel comfortable with using this on first? Who do you want to try Eruption on first? And the best answer to this is basically use Eruption on someone you feel comfortable with first. By that I mean use Eruption on someone you already have some knowledge, you already have some experience, you have some practice, because Eruption is a perk where you kind of need to work for it, you need to set it up, and then you need to work for it so that you are rewarded. If you pick a killer that you're kind of new on, that you don't really know the ropes around, and you know, you want to try Eruption for the very first time, I really think that's a bad idea, because you do need to play, you know, well enough in order to get value off Eruption, right? Go back to the bank, you know, kind of statement, where you need time to, you know, you need to spend time to activate this perk in order to get its reward. So if you pick someone where you're gonna still need the time to learn, Eruption can kind of be not so much valuable. So pick it on someone that you already have some knowledge on, and then feel free to use it on everyone else once you've understood the perk. And with all that being said, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Much love. Take care, everyone.